Christy Mattal. Thank you, Christy. Christy, tell us a little bit about that song. That was beautiful.
So the name of the song is Nothing Left But Forgiveness. And yes, I agree. It's beautiful. It was written by a woman by the name of Linda Webb Kakaba. And she has moved on to her next adventure in life. And she was a music director at the Center for Spiritual Living in Santa Rosa for many years. And so that's how I became acquainted with this song and several of her other songs as well. She's a very talented singer, keyboardist, songwriter. So she's still with us in spirit. And this song, I just, I know it's just such a blessing for all of us to be reminded of the power of forgiveness. And we often don't hear about it except usually at church or at a counselor's office. And yet it's so powerful. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. David Trolley, thank you. That was beautiful. And it's true. We don't often hear about it except at church or a counselor's office. Yes, because it takes some work and whether we're forgiving ourselves or others. Well, we're going to talk about it a little more today. We're going to talk about releasing because that's what we're doing in forgiveness. We're releasing. So thank you. Thank you for being here, Christy. Always good. And David Trolley, you're wonderful. Thank you, David Trolley. And Ann Richardson. There was a text to me during the announcements from one of the local TV stations asking if you were available to do the news. You were so fabulous today. Thank you. Very good. And Audrey, you are our affirmation chaplain. Those are good. Thank you very much, Audrey. So good to have you pray with us today. And Bob for doing the video recording, and Harry Ollendorf for doing the slides, and David Morse backing him up from wherever he was. And so welcome and thank you all. And if I missed somebody, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I don't think I did. I think I got everybody. And so here we are. Can you believe that it's week 5 of our daily word series? Why, it was just the other day, it seems like, that Sandra Campbell was here opening up the daily word series, talking about being generous of yourself to others and to yourself, about giving and receiving, about the law of circulation, about giving and receiving. The law of circulation is so important in our lives that we let go of things when we need to let go of them, and receive them once we've let go of them, that we make a space for them, that we create a space. And in order to do that, we talked about trust. We talked about trusting God and God in you, that you are one with God and that you have everything that you need within you to move through whatever it is that you're moving through, and to be generous with yourself and others. And we talked about loving. Be loving to others, and especially be loving to yourself. Be loving to yourself, be good to yourself. As often as you can, stop and remember it. Stop and say, I don't have to do something that's not being good to me. I can release that thought. Be good to yourself. And then last week, we thought we'd already released. I know we did. And here we are talking about release today. But last week, we talked about letting go and letting God. And today, we're talking about release. And what's the difference there? Is there a difference? Well, and I asked that question with an opening to you to invite you again this week, that if you have a question or if you want to make a comment or if something concerns you, put your hand up or get my attention. Let's keep it open and interactive again. There were so many positive comments last week. If you have something you want to say, or if you have a comment, let me know, and someone help me. I know Sharon was raising her hand last week and I missed it, and I think Sue Barton told me, and that was good. So bring that to my attention. Or Don Morrow. Don, you want to say something now?
Oh, no, it was now the time.
No, you don't have to. I thought you were putting your hand up, but you were just saying it was you.
No, I was saying I have something to say sometime.
Oh, you want to say it now?
Sure, I'd just say the release, for me, release is something that is a power, a personal power. And letting go and letting God is something that I am a part of, but it's there's a difference there. That's all. I'm sorry to go out of turn, but anyway, that's
No,
what
I thought, thank you, Don. No, I think that was great because what I felt when you said that is that you were a part of it. You were a part of that power. You felt the release. It's not something that you're not a part of. And that feeling of release is so wonderful, isn't it, Don? I mean, once you finally did it, once you've finally done it, it releases power. It releases power. It gives you, it almost unleashes zeal so that you can go forward. It gets you up, that release, and gets you moving. And Marilyn, what would you like to say? I think you have a hand up. You have to unmute first, Marilyn, dear, for us to hear you. There you go.
I still haven't learned that yet. But I've been working on release, and everything that no longer serves me and no longer that I no longer need, and working on things that support me rather than letting go and releasing things that I don't need anymore. So that's what I've been working on.
And
so
Marilyn,
yes,
Marilyn, when you say releasing things, that sounds inclusive, right?
right.
Thoughts, material things, ideas, people. We're releasing things that are no longer, that aren't working in our life, that are keeping you back, that, as you said, Marilyn, don't support you. And that's what's important, is what supports us. And Don, you were talking about the difference between letting go and letting God. What is that difference between letting go and letting God and releasing? Well, letting go and letting God is in the moment, isn't it? Something's not working. I'm getting involved in something. I want it to be my way. I want the outcome to be just like this, and it's got to be that way. And I've tried 16 times to make it that way, and it's still not getting that way. And finally, I let go and move from my human self into the spiritual being that I am, and knowing that I have all the tools that I need for any situation in my human experience. See, I let go. I just let go of my human experience, and I move into my spiritual self, and I know. I let go, and now I let God. And I'm not letting some outside being or force or extraneous energy. I'm connecting with me, with the spiritual being that I am, where I have all the resources that I need, no matter what's the situation. Now, then, what's release then? What is release then? Well, let's go back to my story about having to move, right? And last week, and we'll use this, I don't know why I decided to teach this series, because I knew it would all happen in my life, and it is, and it's a good thing, and I'm thankful that I'm learning all this while I'm going through it. But you remember last week, I said that I had gone through this and that, I had worked 27 plans and everything, and finally I said I was going to let go and let God. And everybody felt good, and that was wonderful. And I was out looking at apartments. And so what did I do after last Sunday's service? Well, I went back in and crawled into bed and pulled the covers over my head. I didn't care what I just told you people. I didn't want to move. I was going to let go. I was okay with the fact that God was, that the universe, that the energy had something else. Kevin, could you mute anybody that needs to be muted? Thank you. I was okay with turning it over. But what started to happen then? What's that, Marcia? Old thoughts started to come in. Yes, I saw you. I saw it. Marcia was like going like this, like, like the Langoliers, if you remember that Stephen King movie, you know, the thoughts are coming after me. There were old thoughts that don't serve me. Oh, the one that was my favorite that was really getting to me was, well, you're not as young as you used to be. You're the king of moving. You're not anymore. And I mean, you're not the king of moving anymore. You're not even the prince of moving anymore. Why? Because I'm in my 70s? Well, that's a bunch of, excuse me. Well, there's nothing to that. That's an old thought. And so I have to spend the time, once I let go and let God, well, I have to, guess what I have to do? Metanoia. I have to change my thoughts to change my life, right? I have to change my thoughts to change my life. I have to let go of thoughts that don't serve me. So now that I've talked for 15 minutes, let's see what the daily word is for today, since that is the premise of our service, and it's wonderful as usual. It says, August 7th, release. Releasing the past, I make room for the future. Releasing the past, I make room for the future. My life experiences have provided me with many gifts, from joyous to painful. I have taken something from each one, a nugget of wisdom, understanding, solace, that has helped me evolve into the person I am today. I am always growing, always changing. With gratitude, I receive the blessings while letting the painful memories go. I have no room for regret and do not dwell on things I have no power to change. As I release unwanted thoughts and unpleasant memories, I free myself to enjoy new experiences and create beautiful, lasting memories. With an uncluttered mind and an unburdened heart, I embrace the present moment and eagerly create my bright, beautiful future. Oh, and the scripture is such a beautiful, it's just so appropriate for this because we can hold it in our hearts. It's from Ecclesiastes, and you know, that's almost like Lamentations. It's you know, the Hebrews, they're in Babylon, and they're lamenting everything, and they're telling their stories, and they're putting them down in writing for the first time. And so they say, from our experience, from everything we've learned from the burning bush to Egypt, there's a time to seek, a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to throw away. For every time, there is a season. Turn. And so for every thought, there is a season. So I wanted to go back, let me go back there for a minute. So just looking at that daily word, releasing the past, I make room for the future. So let's look at our ministry for just a moment, because we're a different ministry, and we've talked about this many times than we were 2.5 years ago. And so our calling is not to say that we'll never be in person with a spiritual experience again. Our job is to release the past, to let go of thoughts about what was or how that was, or that it would be the same if we did the same thing now. What was our stamina then, and what was our stamina now? And see, what the first line of this says is, releasing the past, I make room for the future. in that letting go, no one's saying we won't ever be together again to have a spiritual experiences, or that we won't ever have them on a Sunday morning. We're just letting go of the way that it was so that we can make room for the new, whatever that is. And so there can be excitement in that, joy in that. And once we stop trying to think of it as it was and let go and let God and receive all the wondrous things that come our way, we can move forward. And, you know, it talks about it so many times. It says, I am always growing, always changing. Aren't we? Aren't we always growing, always changing? And John Duffy has a hand up. I'm sorry, John. There you go. Go ahead. You're always growing and always changing, John Duffy.
Well, thank you. And in a few moments ago, you mentioned the letting go of the unpleasant thoughts. And just now, you broaden the perspective, because what I was going to say then was, I find myself occasionally distracted from the present, let alone the future, by going back to pleasant thoughts of days gone by. And you just included those pleasant thoughts with respect to the way we used to be at Unity Center of Davis when we met in person. So I just wanted to add that it isn't just unpleasant things that hold us back. Sometimes pleasant things keep us from expressing our good in the moment.
Well, that's true. And, you know, it's you mentioned that right as I was about to say, we're on track today, the section of the daily word that says, with gratitude, I receive the blessings while letting go of the painful memories. So if there were painful memories, we let them go. But the good memories, well, we're letting them go too, but we receive them as blessings. They're blessings. We carry them in. They build the future. They're thoughts that go with us because we don't need to let them go. We let go of those things that we don't have the power to change. And we don't have the power to change that there was a pandemic, that we were sheltered at home, that there was an insurrection, that there's still chaos in the world, that there's a war in Ukraine, and that who knows who's saying what to who, and that Roe versus Wade is overturned. And so what were the blessings that those brought us, that Roe versus Wade brought us, that we can take and build onto that in the future to make room for the new, for a new way to go forward, to make sure that we have rights, to make sure that we all enjoy human rights. Let's let go of those thoughts, but keep the blessings of that. The reminder how free we are when we have our rights. So anybody else? While I'm stopped here for a moment, I can't see everybody, but let's see. Okay, I don't see a hand. So that when we go to look at the metaphysics of release.
Reverend Rich, Pat Sweet had her hand up.
Thank you, Marcia. Go, Pat, unmute and go ahead. Kevin, ask Pat to unmute. Pat, when you get unmuted, I'll come right back to you, okay? So the metaphysical meaning of release, there's no word release in the revealing word. I'm not surprised, because the word released is barely used in the Bible, and those where those words are coming from, right? But what's the word that is in the revealing word? And Pat, I see, I'll get you in a second. It's renunciation. It's renunciation, the power of elimination, the power of renunciate. And here's the definition: a letting go of old thoughts in order that new thoughts may find place in consciousness. letting go of old thoughts in order that new thoughts may find a place in consciousness. It's a healthy state of mind. A healthy state of mind is obtained when the thinker willingly lets go the old thoughts and takes on the new. The center, or where is renunciation located in our body? Well, that's an easy one to remember. Elimination, it's located in the abdomen, and the center of renunciation, sometimes called elimination, is in the lower part of the abdomen. And Charles says it carries forward the work of elimination or error thoughts from the mind and waste from the body. Those thoughts, these thoughts we let go of, and we actually remove them from the human experience. Pat Sweet?
Well, you know, for 60 years, I've had a big, big thing that happened to me. And I've continually had to grow with this thing of releasing what's happened. And I think more now, so I am having more arthritis, you know, it's like eating me. But in the middle of the night, I think, oh, this is silly. Why am I doing this? And I release, and then I go back to sleep. But I'm so thankful that for unity, that this has been a tool that I can use for my life.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. I mean, what a wonderful example of practicing release, of knowing that even though, I mean, we can't change the arthritis, right? We can't lay there and say, arthritis, go away. I mean, we could, but what we can know is in the middle of the night that we're 100% whole. With arthritis, with having to move, with thoughts that are giving you cramps in your abdomen because they need to be released, we are still 100% whole. 100% whole. As we go through this human experience, we have everything that we need to move through it. So here I am laying in bed, covered up with the blanket last Sunday. And Monday wasn't any better, I can tell you that. I was having every thought that there was to have. By Wednesday, I had called the realtor and told her that I was going to rob a bank. How's that for error thought? I was going to get what she needed without any way I could, that I wasn't moving from this place. And that's all there was. And I'd call her back as soon as I have it. On Thursday, I realized that I didn't have it again, and that I wasn't going to be living here, and that I could let go and let God once again. Thank you, John. Yes, that's what I felt like. I was like, oh, here we go again. I thought I released this. I thought I let go and let God. But what had I not done? I had not released some old thoughts that weren't serving me, that I couldn't do this again, that it wasn't what was supposed to be, that wherever I'm looking is not going to be the right, I mean, all that. I had to release those thoughts, and I know those things. So on Saturday, yesterday, I did the only sensible thing. I decided I'd move to Malibu. No, let me back up. No. Oh, Mrs. Duffy said no. So I decided, I was in Sonoma, and I hadn't been to Sonoma in quite a while. And I met a friend, and I've known my friend for 60 years probably, because she was probably, well, no, not that long, 50 years. And she's the sister of a girl that I went to high school with. And we met at lunch, and her daughter owns a restaurant in Sonoma. It's called Valley, and it's right there with the rest of the restaurants in Sonoma. And it's been there they opened the week that the shelter in place started. Yeah, so yeah, it was stories about that, but wonderful. And you know what? I could go on about that, but I better not because I'm running out of time. Sheila and I, well, we knew each other's families. We went to school together. We grew up together. We were hippies together. We watched the Three Stooges together. Well, I got in the car to come home, and you know, I was, well, I was thinking how, and she gave me a birthday card that said, and she didn't know I was going to move again. She wrote in her birthday card, to the one person I know in my life that always tends to land on his feet. And I was driving home thinking, oh, what am I resisting? Why are those old thoughts coming into my mind? Larry Schneider tells us in the Metanoia class, and it's being offered again in September. And I want to tell you, it's a life-changing class. It's a great class. It's very good. You can take it a second time. Sign up for it because he's limiting the number of people so we can have one-on-one interaction this time. But Larry says that resistance is a repelling force that arises within us, and it assumes many forms. Procrastination, lies, deceit, fundamentalism. That answers a few things. It's single-minded, these thoughts. They're determined and they're universal. Everyone struggles with it. We're not the only ones that struggle with these thoughts coming through, and it's never ending. You release them, but they're an onion, unpeeling, and one moment is different from the last, and so release is so appropriate. You've got to keep releasing them. You've got to allow yourself the time to grieve them. Sometimes we don't know others are still grieving because we've let go ourselves, because we've made room, we've let go of thoughts. But we have to stop and realize that others are still grieving, and that we may be making room, but they're making room, but holding on. And it's okay, because grief is a process. And so these thoughts come and they always oppose. And I'm not saying that grieving opposes our highest good, but these thoughts that come in about we can't, we won't, that hold us back, and especially in the terms of education and spiritual things, they come and they go. Lastly, Winifred Wilkinson Hausman says that these thoughts can cause stress. Now, you remember Winifred. We talked about her as a former Unity minister. And she wrote the book on the 12 powers that we quoted quite a bit. And she also wrote many years ago a pamphlet called Dealing with Stress Through Spiritual Methods, How to Let Go. And she says this: we must also be willing to release things, particularly things that have fulfilled their purpose in our lives. One more time, particularly things that have fulfilled their purpose in our lives. Those who hoard material possessions will never be free of the stress of fear of loss. But individuals who let things and events circulate freely and easily through their lives are in a position to enjoy greater good continually. They can do this because they have been willing to let go, to let the old go in order to lay hold of the new blessings. Sometimes people reluctantly part with things, but continue to hold on to regrets and possessive thoughts. Even our thoughts and feelings must be cleansed of obsessive tendencies if we are going to live richly and fully in God's good world without tension or stress or strain. Freedom is a gift of God. It costs only our willingness to accept it. In order to accept this priceless present, we must be willing to let go of people and things, thoughts and feelings. So it's my birthday month. I invite you to make it your birthday month and accept your presence. Be willing to let go of things in your life that do not serve you. be willing to practice the law of circulation. Thank you very much for being here today, and release, and have a good weekend.